Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Living in Alignment podcast. And I have a special treat for you today. I'm here with the beautiful Jenn Beninger. And Jenn is the Genius Unlocked founder and CEO of Genius Unlocked Institute, a board certified company where she coaches, mentors, and transforms leaders' personal and professional lives. And through her thousands of hours of executive experience, Jenn has refined the art of coaching others on how to delve into what's holding them back and guiding them to successfully live in their purpose by calling on their intuition. One of my favorite topics. Yay! With her deep understanding of energy work, intuition, communication skills, and mindset work, Jenn is able to produce more breakthrough results than she or her clients could dream of. Achieving mastery is one of Jenn's core values, and it's been at the center of her education, training, and work. From Fortune 500 companies to holding executive positions in the coaching industry, managing teams of coaches, developing coaching curriculum, teaching business development skills, and running transformational leadership events, Jenn has helped coaches in nearly every area reach their full potential. Jenn has developed her genius and true purpose through combining her numerous accolades. Jenn boasts a Bachelor of Science in Psychology and is also a board certified trainer at the master level in neuro-linguistic programs, NLP coaching, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, as a certified coach through John Maxwell, and a master Reiki teacher. So that is quite a resume. Hi, Jenn. How are you doing today?
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much. Yes, I very much love what I do. And I'm just excited to be here to share any golden nuggets that your listeners can pick up and that they can immediately apply to their own lives, and also share anything with them that they might want to go back and listen again and be able to pick up even more golden nuggets. So I love sharing all of this information for entrepreneurs, is mainly our focus, coaches or people who want to use coaching skills in their entrepreneurial ventures.
Yeah, well, I think coaching skills are important for all of us to have, even, as parents or just friends, anything.
Absolutely. In all 9 areas of life, having coaching
Mhm.
skills support you, because it is based in communication. It is based in growth. It is based in mindset. So 100%. And then intuition is the key. We found in the last, 2 decades that I've been doing this, intuition is the key. And if we can focus on that foundation, then everything else seems to fall in place. And so that's why I love talking about this.
Mm-hmm. Well, intuition is definitely one of my favorite topips and things
Great.
that I live by. But before we get into all the juicy stuff, well,
Yes.
not that this part won't be juicy, but I want you to, let us know who you are, how you got, how you ended up here doing what you're doing now, and just give us a little bit of your backstory.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. So I live in the Silicon Valley. So I live in Northern California, the Bay Area. And I always thought when I graduated college that I was going to go into corporate America, and I was going to be like a red power suit, and I was going to do all of this stuff. So I worked in corporate America for a while. And I realized that I really wasn't fulfilled. I really have always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I started my first business. I'm about to date myself right now. As I started my first business in 1997 when I graduated college. And I was also working in corporate America. And I was married. I got married and also that same year. And I was working in corporate America, but I was also my husband and I at the time was struggling with infertility, like really, really struggling, like 3.5, 4 years of infertility. So basically most of my 20s. And I realized that I had this feeling. I don't know if any of the rest of you have ever experienced this. I didn't know what it was, but I had this feeling that it was more important for me to have a family than it was for me to be in corporate America. So this feeling inspired me to quit my job. Basically came home to my husband. I was like, oh, by the way, I quit my corporate America job. That was, about half of our income. And I just knew that was something that was important to me. Now, I didn't know what it was. Looking back now, I would say it was 1,000,000% my intuition, but I didn't know what it was. And so I quit corporate America. I went full time into my business. So I have been a full-time entrepreneur since 2002. And have absolutely loved every second of it. Well, of course, 3 weeks after I leave my corporate America job, I get pregnant with my oldest daughter. And again, I didn't really know what that was. So I started my coaching business. So I've been entrepreneurial. I was already an entrepreneur and I started my business coaching. So I was business coaching and I knew like some of us like that are entrepreneurs, like, you know how to do things, right? You're an expert in your field, right? Like I knew how to support people to make multiple 6 and 7 figures in their business. That's what I was doing for 10 years. So I realized though, Amy, is my clients would pay me lots of money, but they weren't getting the results. So then I started going inside and I was like, well, why are they not doing what I'm telling them to? Like, just same like with health, right? We all know how to lose weight. We all know how to be healthy. There's 17 rows in a library that'll tell you how to, it's basically move your body and what do you put in your mouth, right? We all know this, but it's the mindset. It's the negative thoughts and emotions. It's the inner voices that are stopping us from doing those things. So I started delving really deep into what is going on between the ears, right? So I have a degree in psychology. I understand. I'm starting to get coaching certifications. And I go to my business clients and I'm like, okay, so what is stopping you from doing A, B, and C? Because you're not doing A, B, and C. You're paying me lots of money to tell you about A, B, and C, but you're not doing it. So I started getting curious. Was really getting curious as why they weren't doing what I was saying I was doing. So then I started delving into what is stopping us inside our unconscious mind. And it is your unconscious mind. Your conscious mind is very focused, right? We set our goals, right? We know, we make our to-do list. We go out there and just set our intentions. It's, however, what I started understanding is it's your unconscious mind that is stopping you. So we use the term, your conscious mind is the goal setter. Your unconscious mind is the goal getter. And if they are not in alignment, how many of you have set a goal and not hit it? And then how many of you have set a goal and hit it? Well, we would come to the conclusion that if you hit your goal, it's because your conscious and your unconscious minds are in alignment. If they're not. So then I was like, okay, I get it. So at this time, just a personal part of my life is I'm really studying all of this and I'm starting having difficulty, in my marriage. And it's not really working. I'm not really understanding what's going on. And so I walk into my first neurolinguistic programming training. And it's really the study of the mind. It's how the mind works. It's the neuro, which is the mind. Linguistics is the language of the mind. And then the programming, which is what we get with my degree in psychology, is, your 0 to 7 imprint age. Like you adopt your values and all of this from your environment. So I walked into my first NLP training as a student and I was like, oh my gosh, I found the answer. I'm going to save my marriage. And instead I ended up saving myself because I started understanding what was truly happening in the unconscious mind. So I began that study and I studied that for, oh gosh, it's almost been 10 years. I've been studying in the neurolinguistic programming, which is basically the understanding how the mind works, how your brain works. It's fascinating to understand what our upbringing has programmed into us about how we get things done. So then I started going back to my business clients, my entrepreneur clients, and I was like, oh, I have figured it out. We have to understand what are the negative voices or the unconscious voices telling you and adopting and stopping you from doing what you know you can do, because your conscious mind knows, your conscious mind wants to do it. How many of you have powered through? How many of you have willpowered? I will do it. No matter, I will overcome. Well, if you figure out what's actually going on in the unconscious mind and reprogram your unconscious mind, you won't have to fight, overpower, willpower it. You'll start trusting your intuition, taking the inspired action from your intuition and getting your results. So I developed more and more of that. I started integrating energy work. I started integrating breath work. I started integrating, conscious coaching skills. And then of course, working in the unconscious mind. So we created our process, which is Genius Unlocked is our company. And it really is about unlocking the inner genius inside of you. So once you can come into alignment, and the key to that is intuition. So how we then transferred into Genius Unlocked, which is the main work that we do, is we understand the conscious. It's like a triangle. So imagine, those of you that are listening, in the bottom left corner of this triangle is all of the conscious mind stuff. It's the conscious reframing. It's the positive affirmations that you're saying to yourself. So alone, that doesn't work because your unconscious mind can override it. Well, then let's go to the other corner, the bottom right-hand corner. This is your unconscious mind. So this is hypnotherapy, energy work, really deep meditation. Well, the challenge with that is if you do what you can heal at the unconscious mind. However, your conscious mind doesn't believe it because it's not integrated. So you go, and I mean, I'm a master Reiki teacher. We do breath work. We do all of this unconscious work. I'm a master trainer in hypnotherapy. But if your conscious mind doesn't know that you healed, it's still running its own show. So we realize that. So then if you take to the top of the triangle, that's the integration between the conscious and the unconscious mind. It's letting the conscious mind reframe, reprogramming the unconscious mind, and then integrating the two of them together so that they're working in conjunction instead of against each other. And how do you do that? Intuition and understanding the other voices. So that is how I started, right? Corporate America, thinking I wanted to be this, red power suit corporate exec, to now running my own company that supports entrepreneurs, coaches, or really anyone that's an expert in what they do. And they want these coaching skills so that they can excel, they can exceed, they can operate in excellence, they can be more efficient, they can be very effective. And we say integrating in the conscious and the unconscious mind by using your intuition is the silver bullet in how you do that. So we are here today, which this is our mission. And our mission here at Genius Unlocked is to support everyone in releasing the most vulnerable judgments they have about themselves, so that they can create the life that they want, and they stop stopping themselves because of the four voices, the three voices that aren't serving them in the intuition. So that's how I got where I'm at, Amy. So, and then I did actually, let me close one loop on one part of the story. Is I am now divorced. I was married for 25 years, and we actually had a very amicable divorce because we realized what was going on in our unconscious mind. We were able to work that out. So I was able to apply these skills not only to business, to money, to intimate relationships, to health, to all of those. So once you understand this, you can apply it to every area of your life, wherever you are. And now I have two. My oldest is now 20, but I also have a 16-year-old. So trust me, I definitely use these skills with teenagers in the house. So I appreciate you asking. And that's my story of how Genius Unlocked started and where I sit today, and the passion that I have to support entrepreneurs.
I love this. And I love, into the intuition conversation is one of my favorite conversations. I love how you were talking about, you had this feeling, you just knew that you had to quit your corporate job. Mm-hmm. And like a couple months later, you were pregnant after not being able to get pregnant. Uh-huh. I mean, this is just such a perfect example of how our intuition, how powerful it is and how it knows. Like I've done some crazy things because of my intuition. Like I moved my family across country. People were like, why are you moving? Yeah. Or I went to New Zealand for 6 months by myself, backpacking, didn't know what I was going to do when I got off the plane. I just knew that I had to go for some reason. And again, I sold everything I owned. People were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I have a knowing that I have to do this. And those are extreme examples, but even on a daily basis, I feel like
absolutely,
if we know how to listen, then we are guided in ways that we're not, if we're just operating out of our conscious mind and thinking that we have to be in control all the time. Is that?
Absolutely. And so we even take it into 4 steps. So if I could share with your Sure. listeners, there's really 4 steps to developing your intuition. And you can think, just by me talking about it, you can think about, oh, I know now where I'm stuck and where I can move more. So the first step is discovering that you have an intuition at all. So I'm going to operate under the assumption, Amy, everyone that's listening right now knows they have an intuition, since it sounds to me like a topic that you talk about all the time. So that's what I didn't know, I didn't call it intuition back, in the late 90s when I quit my corporate job. Then the next step is then understanding, which is what you just said, how is it communicating with you? So there's 4 different ways that your intuition can communicate with you. And the more you develop it, the more your intuition will do all 4. So the first one is what you just said, is very kinesthetic. It's a feeling. People call it, a gut feeling, or you're just like, it's like you physically feel your intuition connecting with you. The second way is also what you said, is it's a knowing. You can't explain it. You just know that I'm moving to New Zealand for 6 months. You just know. I always tell the story. When I lived in Europe in college, I did a study abroad program, and my girlfriend and I ended up getting on the wrong train in the middle of France. Nobody spoke French. And it was pulling out of the station. And we're like, we have to get off this train. And it was just this knowing. And we jumped off the train, just like a movie. It was we threw our backpacks and then our bodies, and what you could do when you're 22 years old, right? I don't know if I would do it now. Yet it was just this knowing. It was like, it wasn't even a gut feeling. It was like, get off the train. And we're like, okay. So some of you have experienced the knowing. Some of you have an auditory, an inner voice that's talking to you. Like you'll hear, jump, or you'll hear move, you'll hear what have you. And then some of you will have a visual. So you will visually see something in your mind's eye that is once you dive deeper into the intuition, your intuition will communicate with you with symbols. So for me, a yes, I've worked on my intuition for the last, 20 years, is a butterfly. So it's either a literal butterfly, I see a butterfly, there's it's a picture in a window, somebody will give me a butterfly, but I just develop knowing that that's my yes. So you start understanding, are you listening to it? Are you seeing it? Are you feeling it? Are you knowing it? And then when you really develop, you'll know all 4. So sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, sometimes it's a combo. Have you ever had a combo, like a knowing and a gut feeling? That's developing. So that's step 2. First, discover it. Then you have to understand how it communicates with you. This next one is where I don't want to say most people, but I see a lot of people are stuck in the step 3, trusting it. Because you'll be like, well, is it not? Well, do I really jump off the train? Like, I know this is how you talk to me, intuition. Do I really need to jump off the train? So it's that trust factor. These first 3 steps are all done internally. The 4th step, which I find once I bring awareness to people, they're like, oh, snap. This 4th step is why I don't have the life that I want. And this is where I want to work, which is, Amy, is taking the inspired action. Mm-hmm. It's, you have to know what you have, an intuition. You have to know how it communicates with you. You have to trust it. Oh, and then, ladies and gentlemen, you have to bring it into the physical world so that you take that inspired action. And I realized when I was only business coaching, that was what was stopping people, is they knew, they had a feeling that this is what they needed to do. They didn't trust it, or they didn't take the inspired action. So what the opposite of that is, Amy, is, and again, I'm just bringing awareness, but ask yourself, listeners, has there been a time when you've just gone into action, action, action? You're just like, I'm just going to do things. And there's no real guidance. It's like throwing spaghetti up against the wall. So we all know that we can take action. My challenge, or what I want to help people develop through the world, is to figure out, how's your intuition communicating with you, trusting that, and then taking inspired action from your intuition so that you can get the results that you want. So those are the four steps to really developing your intuition. And I would love to Amy, is to really define intuition, because some people get a little bit confused on, is it one of the other 3 voices, which is your inner critic, inner ego, or inner child, or is it your intuition? So we want you to, whenever you feel something inside, or you have a thought, The question I love to ask people is, which I is talking? Which I is talking to you in your mind? Is it your inner critic, your inner child, your inner ego, or is it your intuition? So which I is talking? So if you spend the time developing, understanding your intuition, it'll be easy and effortless to decide, oh, that's my inner ego. That's not going to serve me. Oh, that's my inner child. It's acting out of hurt. Oh, that's my inner critic. It wants to keep me where I'm at. So if you can understand the roles of those 4 voices, then you can start developing your intuition. I just want to let you guys all know what we define intuition as. Your intuition is always, without a doubt, always kind. So if anything is going on inside of your mind that is not kind, it is not your intuition. That's the first step of understanding. You're like, oh, but my intuition is like, you better do this. Not your intuition. Will never talk to you like that. That'll be one of your other 3 voices, which is fine. They have a purpose. We love them. We'll dive into that, I'm sure, in a minute. Your intuition, however, ladies and gentlemen, is not always gentle. It will be a big old kick in the booty. We call it the big aha moment. However, it will always be kind when it's kicking you in the booty. We actually call it, one of our clients named it, it's like getting a dead fish across the face, right? So now we've called our dead fish Wanda, from a fish called Wanda. I'm dating myself again. But we actually have this plastic fish and we call it Wanda, and people will be like, oh, I need Wanda. I just got this big aha moment from my intuition. So when you can start understanding that these big, quote, dead fish moments are really your intuition bringing awareness, like, hello, you really are magnificent human beings. Go take this inspired action. And they get this good feeling. Your intuition is the translator between your conscious and your unconscious mind. So the more that you can develop your intuition, you're going to be able to start integrating that conscious and that unconscious mind, and they're going to start working together more and more and more. And your intuition is the one that gives you the learnings. And what do I mean by learnings? Learnings is understanding how source sees you and your definition of source. It does not matter to me what your definition of source is. It could be universal consciousness. It could be God. It could be the universe, whatever. It could be source, whatever you feel your definition of source is. Your intuition is reminding you that this is how source sees you. It sees you as strong and courageous and brave and magnificent and empathetic and compassionate and loving and strong. It sees you as magical, intuitive. So your intuition is bringing awareness to your conscious mind that you are as source sees you, which are all positive qualities and positive qualities and characteristics. So that's our definition of intuition.
I love this. So when you were talking about how you see this butterfly, or, like the butterfly is your full body yes intuition sign. So lately what I've been noticing with mine, because I do think it's like one of the things that stops people is they don't know, like they're afraid to trust, like,
Yes.
is this a sign that I'm supposed to trust, or is this something else, but what I've been noticing lately with mine, this just recently started maybe a few months ago for me, where I hear myself saying something out loud, like I'll be like, got it, or something, like I'll just get this like download and I'm like, yup. And I hear myself say it out loud. And as soon as that comes out of my mouth, I'm like, okay, like that's my intuition, like no question. So have you seen that before? Or is that?
Yes, absolutely. So when we go back to the 4 stages, so that's a stage 2 of understanding how your intuition communicates with you. So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon, but I do have a free gift for everyone that you guys will get at the end, which is to develop all 4 of these stages. So stage 2, I actually put my clients, I do a weekly intuition call, which all we talk about on the call is how did your intuition support you this week, or what questions do you have? So clients can continue to develop that. Once you learn, and the way that you do it is you have to test. So this is how I talk about it with people that have fear about trusting their intuition. Your intuition is a GPS, which means it will redirect you with no judgment. Okay, none of our GPS, we think our GPS has judgment on us because it keeps rerouting us. Your intuition is exactly the same. So if you can look at it as if let's say that you said, got it, and you did the thing, you took the inspired action and you got the result that you wanted. Now you want to consciously say, like you just did, this is exactly what I would have my clients do. You say, oh, when I say got it, I said something verbally, which is auditory. So either you hear it inside or you hear it outside. So that's an auditory. So now you've developed a knowing, a feeling, and an auditory for your intuition. You've shared that with us today. So once you go and you test it. So the thing is, once you do say the got it, you have to take the inspired action to see if it's the result that you wanted. Mm-hmm. Then you consciously go back to yourself and you're like, oh, my intuition, when I verbally say got it, or oh yeah, or yep, I'm doing it, and you go do it, you're developing the trust between your conscious and your unconscious mind. Because some people will say, yep, I got it, and then they won't take the inspired action. And your intuition is like, okay, we're going to try this one more time. And it'll give it to you again. Mm-hmm. And then eventually when you take the inspired action, your intuition's like, oh, they're listening. And you're starting to develop that trust between the conscious and the unconscious mind. Now, here's the other side of the coin. Let's say you think it's your intuition, and it ends up being one of the other three voices, and you take the inspired action and you're like, darn it, that wasn't my intuition. Guess what? You are supposed to not listen to your intuition, because now your intuition is going to give you the learnings. When you get the learnings, you'll never make that mistake again. Like, how many of us have repeated patterns and mistakes? It's because it's your intuition wanting to keep getting you to get the learnings, to get the thing. And when you don't get it, it's going to keep bringing it up until you get it. Then once you get it, you won't ever repeat that pattern anymore. How many of us have broken patterns? Now, you may be doing this without being consciously aware of it, yet that's what's happening inside of your mind. Because a prime directive of the unconscious mind is to suppress negative thoughts and emotions when it doesn't have a resolution. And then it will present negative thoughts and emotions when it feels that there's going to be a solution. Well, that's a pattern. So it'll suppress it, and then it'll bring it up. You don't get the learnings. The intuition's like, no problem. We'll try again tomorrow. And it'll push it back down. And then that's why you have this pattern, like you dating the same person, you have the same boss, your friends are all the same. I remember when I was really developing this, my best friend, my boss, and my ex-husband were all the same person. And it was all not healthy. They were all not healthy. So first the friend went, then the boss went, then the husband went. And it was because they were all projections of what the learnings that I wasn't learning. So when I started developing more of my intuition, I started going, oh, wait, I became consciously aware of the challenges that my intuition kept wanting to tell me for like 5 years. So then I finally got it. And then everything shifted. Our business went to multiple 7 figures. I had the most amicable divorce on the planet. And I'm run my business with my new best friend. So I was able to create the life that I want. You use your intuition to have that self-belief, the self-love, all of those things that you want to grow is all inside of you. And your intuition is the answer to all of that. What happens is we're listening to the other 3 voices and we think that they rule. And in reality, they don't. They have a role. We don't want to blame and shame them and lock. I remember I went to an event, Amy, once where they told me to take my inner critic, lock it in a jail cell in the back of my brain. I'm like, this doesn't feel right, because your other 3 inner voices are still part of you. They have a job, understand their job, and then develop your intuition. And that's how you create the life that you want.
So with intuition, it sounds to me like one of the biggest things, and this has been my experience as well, is trusting. Like, you have to trust your intuition. You have to trust it enough to know when it's speaking, and to take the inspired action. And it's like what you were saying, like those patterns will keep repeating themselves. Like the saying, like you get hit over the head, you get poked, and then if you don't listen, you get hit over the head with a 2x4. Like wake up, like with these patterns of like abusive relationships or whatever it is. Yeah. And
That's
so,
exactly my experience.
yeah. So it's really what it comes down to is trust. Cause I think a lot of people probably
Mhm.
have issues with trusting, especially when it's like, I mean, a lot of the little things that I do throughout the day where I'm like, got it. Yep. Whatever. Those are like something for me to do right now. But then there are the big things like you need to move across the country. That New Zealand thing, for example. So like I didn't, I wasn't as in tune with my intuition then as I am now, but obviously I was enough to like go to
Mhm.
New Zealand. But
Mhm. Mhm.
I started having like these recurring dreams that I needed to go to New Zealand. And I was like, what is this or whatever? And then I was in the gym one day and I opened up a magazine, an Oprah magazine, and it opened up to a poem by Mary Oliver called The Journey, which is still to this day one of my favorite poems. But
Wow.
at the time I had never read it before. And I read it. And to me, like that was the got it moment for me where
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay, I'm calling a travel agent tomorrow and I'm getting on the
Beautiful.
plane, so like that's the moment though where some people wouldn't trust that, or
Correct.
they wouldn't even see it as like a something, a sign or something, guidance. Like for me, I was like, that's guidance.
Yes. So that's why a beautiful, beautiful example of the 4 stages. So you trusted it and then you took the inspired action. So it's the trusting that is the hardest part for people to get. So what I tell all my clients is start with little things. Then when the big thing comes, you're like, oh yeah, no, I know I've been doing it on all these little things. When I say got it, I know it's my intuition, and you take the inspired action. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, you can't be wrong. And this is the biggest thing. You cannot be wrong by taking inspired action. Even if you're taking the action, and it's the wrong, you've labeled it as wrong. There is no right or wrong. You've labeled it as wrong. It doesn't matter. What if your intuition was telling you to make the wrong choice so we could give you the learning so that you can go redirect to where you want to go? The worst thing that anybody can do, and I was the queen of this for maybe a little, maybe not quite a decade, is not taking any action. I was frozen in an emotionally abusive marriage, in an emotionally abusive boss, in an emotionally abusive best friendship. They were all the same person. And the universe kept stacking it and stacking it and stacking it until I got like a Mack truck. And it was because I wasn't taking any action. So take action, even if it's from the other 3 voices, because that's where you get the learnings. And you're like, oh, so I got if you keep waiting for that 100%, yes, I got it, or I'm doing it, the only way you can get to that is if you practice all the other stuff so you can tell the difference. You have to have the contrast. You have to know what it's like to not make the decision from your intuition. But guess what? Your intuition's excited for you because now it gets to give you the learnings. Then when you get the learnings, then the next time you're like, oh, this is how my intuition talks. Being in an inactive, frozen state is really the only time you're not listening to your intuition. Take action so you can learn, so Amy can come on and say, oh, I know how my intuition talks to me. It's a feeling. And then I say, got it, or yes, or uh-huh, or I hear you. And I'm very much the same way. But it takes a minute to develop it because the other 3 voices are so loud. And I know that's probably a question. They're like, well, but Jenn, my inner critic ran about 90% of my thoughts for about 5 to 7 years, actually probably 8 years, when I was in those 3 emotionally abusive relationships. And it was my inner critic that was running. And I just had to start little by little by little. And then now I have the life that I would never have known I could have had 8 years ago. So take the inspired action, even if you think it's wrong, reframe that consciously and say it's not wrong. It's like, oh, this is a great learning. I wonder what I needed to learn from this. Intuition. Oh, I needed to learn that I'm a risk taker, that I'm intuitive, that I'm strong, or whatever those qualities and characteristics that source wants you to recognize. You make a wrong move, which I really don't like that word, yet I know that's what you're telling yourself inside your head. You make the wrong move, you think that it's bad. No, it's your intuition. It's showing you that contrast so that you can be like, oh, this is what I don't want. Intuition, support me. And that's why we do so much work with integrating the conscious and the unconscious mind. And then the gift, the unlocking your intuition, which is an arc of how to take it from discovering your intuition to being able to it's 23 meditations. I don't want that to sound overwhelming. Listen to them in however amount of time you want. Yet it's going to help you develop that whole process, so that you're going to be like, oh my gosh, at the end, I know what my yes is. We even support you in figuring out, like, entrepreneurs, right? I can guarantee you probably one of the biggest things that you guys want to know how to do more of is make money. We're entrepreneurs. Like, we don't have a job. We are our own boss, right? We don't have a W-2. We're like, how do we grow our wealth? How do we serve more and have more impact in the world and be able to then have the life that we want? Well, you, in this process, you're going to be able to understand what is your representation from your intuition around money. We have one of our clients that's an owl. And I'm like, okay. So she's like, some of you might think this is weird, and that's totally okay with that, but it's an owl. So she was so funny. She's like, Jen, she called me up. She's like, oh my gosh, Jen. She goes, I'm driving down the road and I literally see an owl. And the night before, I had this intuitive, which I didn't know was an intuitive hit, to launch this new program. So she supports women who are recovering from religious, she's a coach, but she helps people that come over that deal with religious trauma. And she's like, I had this $1 million idea, but I didn't trust it. The next day I saw the owl, she launched the program and she made 6 figures in 2 months. Like, that's what we mean. She goes, I wasn't going to trust myself to go start this program if I didn't understand my intuition saying this yes. So it's fun, you guys. That's another thing that's so exciting. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much fun are you having in your life? Go play with your intuition. It's super fun, right, Amy? Isn't it fun to have that yes, to have that, let's go, and then understand the other 3 voices, that their job is to get you the learnings.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing is, like, I feel like the more you learn to trust it, the easier it gets to trust it. Like, when you see what happens, when you trust it, like when I went to New Zealand, that was a big leap for me. Like I said, people thought I was crazy or whatever. They're like, what are you going to do when you get there? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know anybody there. I don't know what I'm doing when I got off the plane. But then I got on the plane, and I even came up against like obstacles. I didn't have the right visa, and they weren't going to let me on the plane. And I finally got on the plane, and I was seated between a woman from Chicago who was a skydive instructor, and skydiving was on my bucket list for that trip.
Love that.
And the other side of me was a guy from New Zealand that was going home to see his mom. And by the time we landed in New Zealand, she invited me to go hitchhiking, to go to the skydive center with her. And he had invited us both to his mom's for Sunday roast. So by the time we landed, I knew what I was going to do when I got off the plane. And then from the entire 6 months, that's how it went. Like, I was just guided and guided and guided. I never once had to make a decision. Everything unfolded perfectly. And that taught me that the more I trust, the easier life is. And the less I try to be in control, the better things go. So I feel like the best way to trust is to just, like you said, like, just try it, take the action and see what happens. And the more that you do that and you see what happens, the easier it gets to trust, the easier it gets to hear it or know it, right?
1,000,000% yes. 1,000,000% yes. It's the people that feel stuck and frozen and don't take any action that I want to encourage. Take a step, next best step, and then analyze it. What worked? What didn't work? What am I going to do differently next time? You did that thing. You went the next thing. You're like, what worked? Everything. I listened to my intuition. Next step, what worked? Everything. I listened to my intuition. When I started doing that, and then be like, oh, that didn't work. Okay, great. What do I get to learn from this? Oh, I need to learn, it's just a contrast saying, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Like, I knew that wasn't my feeling for my intuition. I did it anyway. Now I really know what my intuition what it talks like. And so it's the same thing. We also, trusting your intuition and taking inspired action is also easy and effortless. So my business partner and I, who's also my best friend, actually, he was just here. We just got done with a retreat with one of our clients, and we're launching a new program. And we were talking about it, and we're like, you know what? This is not feeling easy and effortless. It's not coming to us really into, like, kind of forcing it. So we stopped talking about it for like 2 weeks. Well, then he was here and we were taking a walk, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I had this idea. What if we make it this?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's my intuition, my yes came into my solar plexus." And I said, "Oh, let's do it." And by the time we got back from our hour walk, we had the whole new program listed. That's a clue. When it's hard, take a step back and say, what am I not hearing, intuition? What are you wanting me to know? When it becomes a flow, like you said, your whole 6 months in New Zealand was flow. It was, I love the movie. If you guys could, this is what we do. This is your intuition. Go watch the movie Soul from Disney Plus. Do the free trial for 7 days if you don't have it, and go watch the movie Soul, Soul. It literally describes flow when you're listening to your intuition, when your unconscious mind is guiding you, when you realize when your inner ego, your inner critic, and your inner child is driving you, how it negatively impacts your life. Like, that movie is a beautiful metaphor for using your intuition. I love recommending that movie. And your story about New Zealand is exactly how you guys can live your life. Now, I want to be super clear though, your other 3 voices have a clear job. We don't ever want to tell them to shut up. We don't want to give them nasty names. We don't want to lock them in a jail cell in the back of our mind. They're warning lights. It's like your gas light coming on in your car. It's the battery beeping in your smoke detector. It's annoying as all get out. Like, it is so annoying at 3, and they always go out at 3 a.m, right? They never go out in the middle of the day when you have a battery. It's always like 3 a.m. and you're trying to like break it. So what we really want you guys, it's that 80-20 rule. When I was going through this struggle, 80% of what I was hearing in my mind was my 3 voices, inner critic, inner ego, inner child, and only about 20% my intuition. Our goal is for you to switch that upside down, where it's 20% your inner child, inner critic, inner ego, because they have a job. They are there to support you. And then 80% your intuition. So as you start shifting this, those of you that are watching, to visually start switching it and turning it where 80% of your communication is your intuition, then you take this contrast of your inner critic, inner ego, inner child to get the learnings. Then you develop more of your intuition, because that's how you set goals and reach goals. Because if you guys think about it, like right now, you're at what we call your 0. So wherever you're at right now in your business as an entrepreneur, this is your 0. You have a 10, whatever that is. If it's a financial goal, if it's a client goal, if it's opening a new, brick and mortar business, whatever it is, you have a goal right now. Think about it. What's your goal? That's your quote 10. In the middle is the mindset that's preventing you from getting your 10. If 90% of this talk or 80% of this talking here is your inner critic, inner child, inner ego, this is why you want to develop your intuition. So then you'll start getting up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and then you'll hit your goal. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, that's your new 0. So then you set a new goal, and then you're like, oh, now I want to get 7 figures. Now I want to open 3 more stores. Now I want to move across the country. Now I want to go international, whatever that goal is. The only thing stopping you are your negative thoughts and emotions based on your programming. So if you use your intuition to unravel all of that, you'll hit your goal. This is your new 0. So your other 3 voices are letting you know what you deserve to learn about yourself so that you can hit your goal. So nothing's wrong with them. You just need to learn to listen to them, get the learning, so that then they will quiet. So then you can hit your goals over and over and over and over again, whether it's and the business coach side of me it's about first, it's your first 100,000. So if you have brand new entrepreneurs that are listening right now, and you're like, I'm working to get my first 6 figures, here's 0, here's your first 6 figures. Then once you get your first 6 figures, then it's about 250. And then it's about every 250,000 till you get to 7 figures. And then once you get to 7 figures, it's about every 500,000 when you got into multiple 7 figures. That's the stretch goal of what you need to figure out, what you need to learn about yourself. Because as the CEO of a multi-7-figure business, I'm telling you, it is not the challenges I had when we started at 6 figures. Like, we're talking like employees, unemployment, healthcare, 401ks. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why am I talking about 401ks? This is not where there's no way, if you're trying to get your first even $250,000, are you talking about how to get employees and 401ks for them? So each step is growth. And the more and more you can develop your intuition, you'll go through those steps faster, and you'll be able to trust yourself, and you'll be able to make leaps and bounds in the goals that you have. So that's how you can apply intuition work hands on to growing your business, whatever you're doing as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing I feel like, at least this is true for me, maybe you could speak to this, but like you talk about the inner critic, the inner child, and the inner ego, getting in the way of us hearing our intuition. But what I've found, and become really, really, really conscious of recently with some personal challenges that I've been going through in my life, is that there are people in my life that love me, who also give me advice. And it's not all unsolicited. Much of it is solicited advice because I feel like I need help figuring stuff out.
Perfect.
But they're giving me advice based on their feelings about my situation and their current own baggage that they have in their life, or their own filters or whatever. And although at the time, I get confused because this person's advice is different than this person's advice, and it all sounds really good to me. And and even my therapist, like I fired my therapist because even my therapist's advice was like, it sounded sound to me. But when what I started to learn is like, nobody's advice is what is coming from me. Like, I'm the only one. My intuition is the only thing that really knows what's best. And so when I stopped taking other people's advice, including firing my therapist, that's when people really started to think I was crazy. They're like, you're going to do what? And I'm like, I just know that this is what there is to do. And my whole life changed for the better.
So remember when I started talking at the very beginning and I said there's a golden nugget that somebody's going to get? That was it. Please go back and listen to that again. Please, please, please. That is absolute. You have all of the answers inside of you, and everyone around you. So this is going to be we could go down this rabbit hole. So maybe we could do a part 2 and I can talk just about this.
Yeah.
It's called, what we call perception is projection. And it's based from Carl Jung. And it says is everything that is positive outside of yourself is a positive projection. And everything that is in your unconscious mind that your unconscious mind wants you to resolve, it projects out in front of you in a negative way. So all of the answers are 1,000,000% inside of you. So what I could argue for Amy is your unconscious mind projected all of this advice giving from other people, and you started realizing that it wasn't matching, it wasn't in alignment with you, your intuition wasn't supportive. So your unconscious mind got you to take the learning that your intuition has the answers. You got the learning, you stopped taking their advice, whether that you cut them out of your life or not. I mean, you said you fired your therapist, but obviously the friends didn't go anywhere. And then you went inside. Your intuition is having a party inside your head right now, because it is like, oh my God, she got it. She got it. She got it. That the answers are inside of you. So if you can look at the advice that's coming outside, because this was also a thing for me, I was very stuck in dichotomy, which means I couldn't make a decision. So I'd seek advice from everyone. And then I was like, none of this feels good. None of it feels like this is what I want to do. So if you can go inside and then just develop your intuition and know that you have the answers inside of you. And those are just hints. So the people's advice that wasn't in alignment with you, that was supposed to happen so that you would go inside and trust your intuition. So everything is a projection. So everything positive in your life is a positive projection, and everything that's kind of showing up a little icky or a little like, what's going on here? It's that warning light that's telling you, go inside and check in your intuition, develop it more, try little trial and errors like you did. Well, you did bigger ones too, like move across the country, go to New Zealand, those type of things. We're not saying start out there, ladies and gentlemen. Don't start out with the big ones. Let's start out with little ones, like which direction do I turn? Or, I give a lot of, fun things for people to do to test their intuition. So that was a most amazing golden nugget that I could have said to I say it to my clients all the time. You have the answers inside of you. Develop your intuition so you start to hear them, understand them, trust them, and take the inspired action out of them. That was brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. That's exactly what I teach.
Mm-hmm. And like another thing that I notice, and it just happened, you said something and I got tears. Not everybody gets tears like I do, but tears and goosebumps for me are like when it's my truth, when I hear something that's my truth, or I have like a feeling and it's my truth, I either get goosebumps or tears. Not every
Mhm.
time, but
Mhm.
that's what happens. So I don't know if that, if you talk about that at all or anything like that, but that's something that for me, I cry really easily. And so when my eyes well up with tears, like they'll well up with tears in an instant when I hear something that's like
That's amazing.
my inner truth or whatever. So I don't know
Mhm.
if that's something that you.
Yes, it is. It's part of that kinesthetic. That's a kinesthetic reaction. It's either a feeling like you're physically, touching something, or it's an inside kinesthetic. So if you have tested, and I use that in quotes for those of you that are listening, that have tested your intuition, if you have shown that when you get those goosebumps or when you get teary, that is your intuition, then every time that happens, trust it and go. Like you want to create a shorter and shorter gap of trusting and going. So like you said, you read a magazine article and the next day you called a travel agent. That's trust and go.
Mm-hmm.
It's those that trust it, but then don't take inspired action for 6 months to a year. Then what have you done inside? You need to learn the learnings. So if you can show yourself and your intuition that this tearing, this goosebumps, I'm a goosebump person for me. And since I do a lot of energy work, sometimes for those of you that understand Reiki, my hands will, what we call turn on, like I'll feel the energy coming out of my hands or I'll get goosebumps. So if you've shown over and over and over and over again, when you get teary, that's your intuition, that is confirmation for any of you listening. If you have anything like that, that is confirmation that when you get that, take immediate action, like go to the travel agent the next day, go skydiving, go, do what you need to do. I love skydiving. I've been twice. I hope you enjoyed yourself. It's amazing.
I just went for my birthday last year again, and it's my birthday this month. I might go again.
I freaking love it. I love it. So that was a very intuitive hit for me to go. Because I was like, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I don't have a problem with heights. I'm just like, it's new. I'm going to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. And I got an intuitive hit and I took the action and I was like, okay, here we go. So, and again, I understand, ladies and gentlemen, that some things are easier than others. I didn't listen to my intuition for a really long time because I was married for 25 years. And I was like, there's got to be a way. This is the work that I do. How can I not solve this challenge? And actually, I did solve the challenge. The work that I do saved me. And now he's off living his best life. I'm living my best life. And I really learned from that experience of taking those years to figure out that this was not the marriage that I deserved to be in, that big things like that really bring conscious what helped you make that decision. So that when you want to make bigger decisions, like moving across the country or getting a divorce or staying together and working it out or whatever that is for you, making that money, stepping into that next $1 million idea. Mm-hmm. If you can just continue to trust it and bring your conscious awareness to it. Don't just let it happen at the unconscious level. Don't just let it be a feeling. Go look at it. Wow, what did that look like, feel like, sound like? What did I know when I made this? Like connect your conscious mind to what's happening with your unconscious mind, because your intuition is that translator. The more you become conscious equals awareness. When you can become aware that your intuition is talking to you and you don't just take it as like for me, when I quit my job, I didn't know what it was. I was just like, I'm quitting, and I quit. I never went back and looked at how did it feel? What did it, like, I didn't analyze it. Or I don't want to say analyze it, but I meant like, I didn't bring it conscious. So it took me another 5 years to find it again. So look at every time that you use your intuition and it serves you. And then look at every time you follow one of the other 3 voices. What did you need to learn? And then your intuition will be your GPS and send you back on the way.
That's awesome. So I have one more question. I know we're getting to the end here, but
sure.
because this is something that comes up a lot for my audience. And then I want to hear about your free gift. But
Sure.
first, so one thing that I notice a lot with my audience and the people that I work with is that a lot of times we get stuck in a comparisonitis. Like, we look at what somebody else is doing and we're like, well, that person is successful, so I need to do it that way, or I need to be more like that person, or I need to act more like that person, or I need to, build a funnel like that person, or whatever it is. And I always say, like trying to be a cookie cutter of somebody else is never going to get you where you want to go. Like, the best way to be is just completely authentic. And so I feel like intuition is kind of tied into this. I would love to hear like
Absolutely.
your take on like how can you know, like, again, like, no, it doesn't matter how successful someone is or how much you look up to someone, they don't know what's best for you, or their model isn't necessarily what's best for you. So how can somebody, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, use their intuition to stop comparing themselves to others and have the confidence to just really do it their way and be themselves?
I love this question. We in our unlocking business, we literally teach what you just said. I got goosebumps because I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. But I know I will do my best to keep it as succinct and then it's really what I just said. And I love that you brought this up again. So I want to say it one more time. So I want you all to use perception as projection when you're comparing yourself to someone else. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So what you perceive as positive in that person that you're comparing yourself to, even if you're over here saying that you're not that, I get that part. I know you're probably like kicking your inner ego, inner critic, and well, I'm not good enough. I don't speak like her. I don't look like her. I'm not them. Like, people compare it like, oh, you and Carson are good because you have two people in your business. I said, sometimes that's not always a good thing. So don't think, so what you perceive in someone else as positive, even if you don't think you have it, write the qualities and characteristics down of that person. So the first step is to say, okay, so if you're looking at Amy and you're saying, she's amazing. She's an excellent speaker. She runs a podcast. She apparently jumps on airplanes and spends 6 months in New Zealand, if some of you have heard that story for the first time. So when you think of those things and you're comparing yourself to Amy, what are the positive qualities and characteristics that you see inside of Amy? You could say she's articulate, she's adventurous, she's intelligent, she's smart, she is a leader. Okay, so just write down, when you think of that person you're comparing to, what are the positive qualities and characteristics? Whether you think you have them or not, I don't care. I want you to write them down. Then I want you to go into a meditation or a communication with your intuition and say, where am I these things? Because you are them. Because Carl Jung says, you cannot see in others that is not inside of you. So if you see Amy as adventurous, if you see her as intelligent, if you see her as articulate, if you see her as successful, if you see her as a leader, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, you have every single one of those qualities and characteristics. Then this is how you get out of doing it Amy's way. You come back inside and you're like, okay, I can see that when I'm with my daughter, I'm adventurous. When I'm when I'm talking about neurolinguistic programming and NLP and intuition, I'm intelligent. I'm obsessed with how the brain works. So I'm very intelligent about that. If you're thinking, okay, well, Amy, she makes multiple 7 figures. I make $100,000. What are the qualities and characteristics? Oh, she's decisive. She's intuitive. She takes inspired action. Then you go, where am I those things inside? That's the first step when you're comparing somebody. Then when you realize you have those qualities and characteristics inside of yourself, that same, because you wouldn't be able to see them inside of her or me or anyone else you're comparing them to if it wasn't inside of you. It doesn't work that way. Then you say, okay, intuition, I understand I am all of these things. What is my next best step? And have your intuition tell you what to do next. That's how you solve it. Now, here's the opposite side of the coin. Let's say you see the qualities and characteristics in someone that you don't like. Let's say you're having conflict with somebody. So you're all free from this. So let's say there's somebody out in your industry that you see as, you know, a shyster. That's why that was one of my negative thoughts and emotions. Is my grandfather sold real estate, and everyone else in my family, everyone else in my extended family, they all had jobs. My grandfather was the only entrepreneur. He was in real estate, and everyone in the family called him a shyster. So when I came out as an entrepreneur, it took me a while to make money because I had been programmed that entrepreneurship equaled being a shyster. So it was a negative thought and emotion that was attached from my filters because I adopted it. So then I had trouble making money in my first two businesses. I'd make it and then I'd spend it. How many of you have done that? Like you make 100,000 and spend 101. You'd make 5,000, you'd spend 6. Because I thought someone that kept money, that made money as an entrepreneur was a shyster, and I didn't want to be that. So I had to reprogram and release that. So write down the negative things that you see in someone else, and then go ask your intuition, what are the qualities and characteristics that I have to overcome that? I'm not a shyster. I passionately want to have impact and help people release negative thoughts and emotions in their mind. That is not a shyster. I deserve money is a positive exchange of energy. So if you have that comparison, number one, look at all the positive things and go inside and say, I have those things, and ask your intuition, what is my next best step? Look at all of the negative things and then ask your intuition, what are the qualities and characteristics that I have that I can overcome that? And then what is my next best step? Your intuition has all the answers for you. Now, this can be done in journaling. This can be done in hypnosis. This can be done in timeline therapy. This can be done in meditation. You guys will be able to do some of what I just said in the free gift that I'm going to give you all. So the comparison is one of your other 3 voices wanting you to know there's something about you you deserve to learn. That is very positive. It's a warning light. So if you can take that inspired action, because that's what we say all of your clients have all the answers inside of you. We are an expert in the coaching process. We are not a therapist, which is why I didn't go into that. I thought I was going to be a marriage and family therapist, and I decided not to go into that. So you are your thoughts. So if you can shift your thoughts and ask your intuition, what are the positive qualities and characteristics that I do have? And then start taking action from those. That's how you can start to reprogram your mind. And you can do that with lots of tools: coaching, affirmations, unconscious work, meditation, etc.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Great answer to that question. So I'm glad we got to cover that.
Yes.
So,
the free gift. Yeah, I would love to tell you guys about that.
Talk about the free gift.
So one of my geniuses is I absolutely 1,000,000% love meditation, because meditation is communication between your conscious and your unconscious mind. It's not as deep as hypnosis and energy work, and it's not as conscious as just reframing or therapy or, just straight conscious mind coaching, reframing. Meditation is that meld. And so the free gift, so you guys will see the link in the show notes when you're listening here, and it's called Unlocking Your Intuition Challenge. And what it is it's 23 meditations that will take you from discovering your intuition to understanding how it communicates with you, to trust it, and then to take the inspired action. So it is an arc. So and you guys will have lifetime access to this. My recommendation and my hope for you, listen to them in order the first time. And there is one that's called the 4 voices, which will bring them up and get the learnings and turn them down. So we have a client that listens to that meditation. She's listened to that meditation every day for 5 years. She's like, Jen, I am your biggest advocate for the 4 voices meditation. So, but I would encourage all of you to listen to them for the first time in order, then find the ones that you love. And then when something comes up, you can go back and listen to it. So it'll be in an email form. So they'll email you a link every day, and then you'll have access to all of them for life. And it's called Unlocking Your Intuition Challenge. And they are meditations to help you do those 4 things: develop, understand how your intuition communicates with you, trusts, and then takes inspired action. So it is my absolute gift to the world. It's how I feel I can spread impact. And then it just, the more people that are using their intuition, I believe it raises the vibration of the whole world. And entrepreneurs, we deserve to have that the most, because we're all of the things when we're an entrepreneur. We're the CEO, we're the CFO, we're all the C-suites when we first start out, and then we start building a team, and then we become a true leader. And being a true leader, being towards what we want, having a positive impact on the world, is an entrepreneur that uses their intuition. So it'll all be there for them.
How long are these meditations? Do they vary, or?
They vary from 20, at the longest I think is like 50 minutes. But they vary. Some are 20, some are 15, some are 40, some are 30. So that's why I'm saying you don't have to listen to one every single day. I would just say, listen to them in order.
Yep.
And then in the morning and noon, at night, spend an hour on a meditation practice, or an hour on your intuition practice. And then for 23 days, make this meditation your intuition practice. But you guys should be communicating with your intuition all day, every day anyway. This is just make this your intuition practice for 23 days.
Yep. Perfect. Love it. Thank you.
I'm excited
for that gift. And before we end, are there anything I didn't ask, any last closing thoughts you want to leave people with?
Thank you for asking me that, because I always want to end with just the golden nugget of what was the golden nugget that I really want you all to hear again today is, the more you can practice, because practice makes permanent, ladies and gentlemen. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. Practice communicating with your intuition so that you can truly understand when it's talking to you, so you can create the life that you want. It's going to take a minute. I get it. It's going to take a minute. And think about, is your goal, there's a reason you became an entrepreneur. There's a reason that you were willing to step out into the world and be that leader. What is that impact you want to make on the world? You can make it quickly, more effective, more and excellent, and more efficiently the more you develop your intuition. So whatever intuition practice you have, continue it. Always look for new ways to grow your intuition, and learn to trust it and take the inspired action. Your intuition is the key to it all.
Yes, I love it. And I'm going to put all of the ways to find Jenn. I'll put that all in the show notes. But is there anything that you want to say verbally as far as where people can find you? You're welcome to do that if you want.
Yes, I would love to. So geniusunlocked.coach is the website. I'm also a teacher on Insight Timer. So you can search for Jenn Beninger on Insight Timer. There's way more free meditations on there as well. And then, just find us on all the social under Genius Unlocked. If you're we're not a TikTok company yet. We are on Instagram and Facebook. I don't know. We never really got into the TikTok side of things, but you can find us on Insight Timer, geniusunlocked.coach, and on any social under Genius Unlocked. And I would just love to give everybody love and gratitude for spending this time with us today. And my hope is that your intuition was very excited to hear us bring it more into your awareness. So go out and whatever inspired action comes from you after listening to this meditation, trust it and go take that action.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for being here. My intuition is happy.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Such a great conversation. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And thank you, Jenn. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.